January the 4th of 2024. Real Madrid lifted their 13th Spanish Super Cup after destroying Barcelona 4-1 in Riyadh. It was a statement night. Vinicius Jr. ran the show with a stunning hat-trick. Rodrigo added the fourth, and Carlo Ancelotti's team looked untouchable. On their way to that final, Madrid had already survived a chaotic battle against Atletico, winning 5-3 after extra time. A few months later in May, Madrid wrapped up La Liga number 36 with 4 games still to play. They had taken control of the table from match day 18. Became the best defensive side in the league, broke their own clean sheet records, and finished as the highest scoring team in Spain. It looked like total dominance. Then came June the 1st of 2024. Wembley, the biggest night of them all. Real Madrid conquered Europe once again, lifting their 15th Champions League after beating Borussia Dortmund 2-0. Dani Carvajal and Vinicius Jr. scored the goals, were named MVP of the final and the best player of the competition. And Madridistas still talk about those legendary knockout wins against Manchester City and Bayern Munich. The trophies kept coming. In August, Madrid defeated Atalanta in Warsaw to win their 6th UEFA Super Cup. Valverde and Mbappe scored. Bellingham was named MVP, and the season felt unstoppable. And on December the 18th, Real Madrid crowned it all by becoming world champions for the 9th time. A 3-0 win over Pachuca in Qatar. Goals from Mbappe, Rodrigo, and Vinicius Jr. Another title, another celebration, another reminder of Madrid's power. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That Real Madrid no longer exists. Everything that made them dominant has faded. The confidence, the control, the fear factor. Real Madrid are in a crisis, and it's worse than we thought. Don't believe it? Take a look at this. Last season, Carlo Ancelotti warned his coaching staff very early. He told them clearly, nothing would work if the defensive effort of the squad stayed at the minimum level. This was not a feeling or a guess from a veteran manager. It was backed by data. Ancelotti analyzed the total distance covered by the team in every match, the intensity of their sprints, and compared those numbers with their opponents. The picture was worrying, and he was right. Even though Madrid started the season by beating Atalanta 2-0 in the Super Cup, the football was already sending warning signs. From August onwards, the performances felt flat, disconnected, and fragile, but Ancelotti stayed loyal to his idea. Mbappe was forced into the starting 11. Rodrigo was protected after a strong previous season. The midfield was not rebuilt despite the loss of Toni Kroos, the brain that controlled everything. At the back, serious injuries hit again. Militao suffered. But the real blow was Dani Carvajal. His absence hurt far more than expected, and there was no proper replacement. Asensio emerged as a solution. Tchouaméni covered when needed, but Vallejo became a ghost, playing just 10 minutes all season. The bad feelings turned into reality in the Spanish Super Cup final. Barcelona destroyed Madrid 5-2. In La Liga at the Bernabeu, another humiliation, 4-0. Those matches were not accidents. They were warnings. Inside the club, everyone knew something was wrong, but the plan stayed the same. April exposed everything. In the Champions League and the Copa del Rey, Madrid were shown to be a level below both Arsenal and Barcelona. Arteta's Arsenal completely outplayed them over 2 legs, winning 5-1 on aggregate. In the Copa del Rey final, Barcelona beat them again. Madrid fought harder, even turned a 0-1 into a lead. But still collapsed and lost 3-2. 3 defeats to Barca in one season, a brutal 12-4 aggregate in Clásicos. This Madrid side did not run, they did not press. There was no clear planning. Mbappe disrupted Vinicius, Endrick barely played. Everything looked broken. And when Madrid faced teams of equal weight, the results were devastating. 4-0 against Barcelona at the Bernabeu, 1-3 against Milan at home, 5-2 against Barcelona in the Super Cup final, 1-1 against Atletico in La Liga. The only big team they beat was Guardiola's worst Manchester City side, and even that required 2 unforgettable Mbappe performances. In the Champions League, they drew 2-2 with Atletico and went through in controversial fashion after the Julian Alvarez penalty. Arsenal humiliated them twice, 3-0 at the Emirates, 2-1 at the Bernabeu. And to finish the nightmare season, Barcelona beat them 4-3 in the last Clásico, sealing the league title. Ancelotti left for the Brazil national team, and then came the big bet. Xabi Alonso was chosen, the miracle coach.
Xabi Alonso to Real Madrid. Here we go, the deal is done, the story is confirmed. Xabi Alonso will be the new head coach of Real Madrid.
The man who delivered an unbeaten season with Leverkusen and won them silverware. A Madrid legend, a tactical genius, as Mourinho once called him.
Xabi Alonso, his father was a manager, so he grew up similar to me. He was born with the father player, he grew up with the father manager, then he became a player, of course much better than I was. Then he became a player, a top player. His position on the pitch and his knowledge of the game, very.
A coach who was supposed to bring order, authority, and control to the dressing room. A manager who did not care about names or shirt numbers. On paper, it sounded perfect, but reality had other plans. Xabi Alonso's appointment was confirmed on the 25th of May of 2025, and he was presented just one day later. The coach had not wanted to take the job before the FIFA Club World Cup. He believed it would be smarter to start a new project with a proper preseason, not a summer tournament. But the club decided otherwise. Alonso did not hide his frustration. These are the circumstances, he said at his presentation, showing little excitement about the competition. And since that's the case, I'll treat it as an opportunity. It would be unfair not to recognize the positives of Alonso's short spell. There were early signs of improvement during the Club World Cup. Real Madrid pressed harder, ran more, and looked sharper. Arda Güler emerged as the creative brain of the team. Gonzalo Garcia was a revelation. Mbappe, when available, showed his star power. Tchouaméni looked like the perfect bridge between defense and midfield. Madrid defended better and attacked with more purpose. They comfortably beat Salzburg and earned convincing wins over Juventus and Dortmund. But the warning lights came on in the semi-final. Once again, against a rival of the same level, Alonso's Madrid were exposed. Paris Saint-Germain, the European champions, destroyed them 4-0. The match highlighted Madrid's defensive fragility in brutal fashion. That tournament also triggered the first internal tensions. Alonso's handling of Vinicius Jr. caused serious discomfort. First, he considered using Vinicius on the right wing. Then, he planned to leave him out of the semi-final against PSG. Only a last-minute reshuffle, forced by injury, changed that decision. The damage was already done. The relationship between coach and star was badly shaken. For a moment, those issues seemed to fade. The 2025-2026 season started strongly. Madrid won 13 of their first 14 matches, including their opening 7 in a row. They conceded just 4 goals. Everything looked under control until disaster struck. A crushing 5-2 defeat against Atletico Madrid, led by a sensational Julian Alvarez, shattered the illusion. And even during the winning run, problems were brewing beneath the surface. There were also disagreements over squad planning. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dean Howson, Alvaro Carreras, and Franco Mastantuano arrived in the summer, but none of them were the tempo-setting midfielder Alonso desperately wanted. Martin Zubimendi, who eventually joined Arsenal, was Alonso's priority. The two had worked closely together at Real Sociedad. The club disagreed. They believed the midfield was already well covered. Alonso felt that decision had seriously damaged Madrid's chances this season. Alonso also had the misfortune of following Carlo Ancelotti, a master of man management, perhaps the best coach in the world at handling a dressing room full of stars and egos. Despite his success at Leverkusen and his elite playing career, this was a challenge Alonso had never faced before. Early in the season, Alonso imposed strict control. He limited player freedom. He wanted to change daily routines and habits. He demanded better punctuality. He reduced access to training sessions, cutting down the presence of people close to players, but not part of the squad or staff. Some players did not take that well. The season reached a key moment on the 26th of October, when Madrid beat Barcelona 2-1 at the Bernabeu in La Liga. A year earlier, Ancelotti's Madrid had lost that fixture 4-0. It felt like progress, like proof that Alonso was on the right path. But the night ended in controversy. In the 72nd minute, Vinicius Jr. was substituted. His reaction stole the headlines. Television cameras caught him shouting, "I'm leaving the team, right? I'm leaving." As he walked towards the tunnel, "I'd better go." And from that moment on, everything changed. Alonso had already left the Brazilian forward out of the starting 11 against Real Oviedo and Marseille.
Siento mucha pena por Vinicius, pero aquí no estamos trabajando con niños. Si te toca salir del campo, es porque así lo decido y punto.
His handling of the player, which had started back at the Club World Cup, was already raising eyebrows inside the club. Senior figures were questioning whether Alonso's approach was wise, especially with Vinicius' contract renewal still unresolved and set to expire in 2027. Vinicius' reaction in the most public setting imaginable, a packed Bernabeu, in the biggest match of the season, exposed just how deep the tension had become. The damage grew even worse in the day that followed, when Vinicius apologized to everyone except his manager. Other players, already unhappy, sensed weakness. They saw an isolated coach with limited backing from above. In his first major crisis, Alonso did not receive the protection a Real Madrid manager usually needs. Instead, his decision to substitute Vinicius was openly questioned. What followed was a brutal run of results and performances that very few Madrid coaches survived. A 1-0 defeat to Liverpool. A 0-0 draw against Rayo Vallecano. A 2-2 draw with an unconvincing 4-3 win over Olympiacos, and a 1-1 draw with Girona. A solid 3-0 victory over Athletic Club offered brief relief. But the collapse continued. A 2-0 home defeat to Celta. Followed by a 2-1 loss to Manchester City just 3 days later. The situation was made worse by an injury crisis. Alonso was left without several key players and forced to overuse others. 8 first-team players were unavailable against City, including Kylian Mbappe. Executives grew increasingly concerned about the volume of injuries. Alonso's decision to remove Antonio Pintus, the fitness coach trusted by Zidane and Ancelotti, became a major point of internal debate. Under growing pressure, Alonso tried to soften his stance. According to sources close to the club, he relaxed some of his rules, gave players more days off, and attempted to make Vinicius feel more valued. It was a clear shift towards a more Ancelotti-style approach. On the pitch, however, the change barely showed. Alonso managed to survive until Christmas thanks to 3 wins in 1 week against Alaves, Talavera, and Sevilla. Most of the squad still backed him, and players slowly accepted parts of his management style, including the heavier focus on video analysis that they had initially resisted. Everyone knew the reality. At Real Madrid, when November and December look like that, managers usually don't last. Before the Christmas break, Alonso urged journalists to stay calm, suggesting he expected to remain in charge. 2026 began with a 5-1 win over Real Betis. Then came the Supercopa. Madrid were fortunate to beat Atletico 2-1 in the semi-final. In the final against Barcelona, Alonso set up pragmatically, defensively, trying to survive. They didn't. After the Supercopa final defeat, Madrid players ignored their manager's order to form a guard of honor for Barcelona. A humiliating moment, one that perfectly reflected Alonso's standing inside the dressing room. Alonso left Real Madrid disappointed on several levels. Disappointed with the performances of key players. Disappointed that, unlike at Leverkusen, he never had full freedom to implement his ideas. And disappointed in himself, believing he could have handled certain situations better. Sources say multiple issues poisoned the project. Alonso felt some players were not taking care of themselves properly, particularly regarding diet. He was also alarmed by constant dressing room leaks to the media, a concern shared by players who still supported him. People close to the coach pointed to a small but powerful group of players unwilling to accept his authority. 3 names kept coming up. Vinicius Jr. above all, but also Jude Bellingham and Federico Valverde. And that is the real problem. The egos at Real Madrid are holding the club hostage. After Alonso's dismissal, Real Madrid turned to Alvaro Arbeloa. His coaching journey began in 2020, inside the club itself. The academy became his first home as a manager. During the pandemic season, he took charge of Infantil A and immediately delivered, winning the Spanish league title. In the 2021-22 season, he was promoted to the cadet category, where results continued to back him. His rise did not stop there. In 2022, Arbeloa was entrusted with Juvenil A, the final step before Castilla. That stage proved decisive. With Juvenil A, he won the Spanish league, the Copa del Rey, the Copa de Campeones, and added another league title in 2024. In June of last year, he was handed control of Castilla, the final bridge to the first team. At present, Castilla sit 4th in Spain's 3rd division with 31 points, well behind Tenerife, who lead with 44. Still, Arbeloa has shown an ability to manage dressing rooms and understand the club's identity from the inside, having been part of Real Madrid for more than 20 years. History suggested optimism. In recent years, first-time managers at Madrid had succeeded. Zinedine Zidane won 3 consecutive Champions League titles after debuting as head coach, while Santiago Solari also delivered solid performances when given his chance. But Arbeloa's story began in the worst possible way. Less than 48 hours after stepping into the role vacated by Xabi Alonso and being presented to the public, Arbeloa faced his first real test. With key absences and Franco Mastantuano returning to the starting 11, Real Madrid suffered another humiliating blow. They were eliminated from the Copa del Rey after a 3-2 defeat against Albacete, a Segunda División side, at the Carlos Belmonte Stadium in the round of 16. The Argentine Mastantuano scored the equalizer after Javi Villar had opened the scoring. Jofte Betancourt restored Albacete's lead. Gonzalo Garcia leveled late for Madrid. But in stoppage time, Betancourt struck again to seal a dramatic and crushing elimination. This defeat now joins the list of historic embarrassments for the club. The shock loss to Sheriff Tiraspol in September 2021, when the Moldovan debutants stunned the Bernabeu with a 2-1 win. The infamous Alcorconazo of the 2009-2010 Copa del Rey, when Madrid were demolished 4-0 by Alcorcón and knocked out after failing to recover in the second leg. And now this. Albacete, currently sitting 17th in the Spanish second division, have knocked Real Madrid out of the Copa del Rey. At Real Madrid, this is simply unacceptable. During Florentino Perez's second spell as president, Real Madrid have gone through 6 trophyless seasons. By far the worst was 2018-19, although the 2009-10 and 2020-2021 campaigns also produced historic embarrassments in the Copa del Rey against Alcorcón with a 4-1 aggregate defeat and against Alcoyano with a 2-1 loss. In 2019, Madrid's hopes of winning anything were over by the first week of March. They were knocked out of the Copa del Rey semifinals by Barcelona with a 3-0 defeat at the Bernabeu.
De Ousmane Dembélé para meter ese balón atrás para Luis Suárez que logra.
Lost 1-0 to the same rival in La Liga.
Aparece por sorpresa y la pica ante Courtois.
And were destroyed 4-1 at home by Ajax in the Champions League round of 16.
El conjunto holandés. Va esa pelota directa.
Those 3 home defeats left Florentino badly exposed in a season where Madrid went through 3 managers. Julian Lopetegui was sacked in November, Santiago Solari was dismissed in March, and Zinedine Zidane returned to pick up the pieces. Now, the outlook for 2025-2026 looks even darker. Arbeloa's interim spell already feels fragile. The second half of the season is still to be played. 2 titles are already gone, and the squad looks physically and mentally drained, with no clear strength to escape the crisis. And if Madrid do not act, this could end in a historic humiliation. There are serious questions that Madridismo must face. Do they want to remain a club where the dressing room controls the project, with puppet managers like Arbeloa used to keep powerful players happy, including toxic figures like Vinicius Jr.? Or do they want to continue building a sporting plan based purely on individual stars like Mbappe? Because Kylian Mbappe does not just score goals, he defines eras, and more importantly, he ends them. The latest proof was Xabi Alonso, dismissed just months after being given sporting authority at Real Madrid. A project designed around him collapsed as quickly as the patience of the dressing room, and above all, the Frenchman. The pattern is impossible to ignore. Since Mbappe broke into the elite, managers around him have fallen one by one. At PSG, Unai Emery lasted 1 season. Thomas Tuchel survived 2.5. Pochettino lasted 18 months. Galtier, 1 year. None endured long in a dressing room that revolved around the same sun. In Madrid, history repeats itself. Ancelotti lasted 1 year. Xabi Alonso, barely half a season. Since his arrival at PSG, Mbappe has changed managers every 1.4 years. This is not just a number, it is a warning. 6 managers in 9 years. Mbappe is not just another footballer. He's a center of power. He controls timing, hierarchy, and the internal climate. His influence goes far beyond the pitch. He shapes how teams play, who truly leads, and how far a coach can go before crossing an invisible line. When a manager tries to impose something Mbappe does not buy into, the countdown begins. And there is one final detail Paris will never forget. The moment Mbappe left PSG, the club won the sextuple.
Creo que lo voy a mejorar el siguiente año, sin ninguna duda. Porque el hecho de tener un jugador que se movía por donde él quería implica que hay situaciones de juego que yo no controlo. El año que viene las voy a controlar todas. Todas, sin excepción.
Without the permanent spotlight on one figure, without a player capable of conditioning structural decisions, the team breathed. The collective took control, and they won. At Madrid, since Mbappe arrived, he has only watched Barcelona lift trophies for 1.5 years. He joined a club that had just won 5 titles. What followed has been chaos, poor planning, fractured leadership, egos in control. So yes, Real Madrid are in a crisis, and it is worse than we thought.